101, Bill.
How many times do you have the opportunity to go with a company like GTEDC? We know that the odds of you being here, as we talked before, is about 100 to 1. And how many times do you have an opportunity to visit and be visited with an individual who has produced more than any other person ever has in the history of our organization year to date, and we're comparing it for other people for the entire calendar year? Well, Dale Lockwood is such an opportunity. As a matter of fact, it was 1 year ago in August that he sat someplace right over there in this school. And he did some rather interesting things. He went on budget the second week of September. This year, to date, Dale Lockwood is at 191% to budget. How does an individual accomplish that? How does an individual accomplish 71% revenue increase to revenue handled? For every $1 of business he has to handle for the company, he brings back $1.71. How does an individual write sales net year to date, right now as we're speaking, $64,500? This is over $20,000 more than anybody ever did in a single year, and last year was a good year, but this year to date he sold $64,500 worth of new sales net. If you multiply that times 12, Paul, that comes out to over $774,000 worth of new business he brought into the company's coffers. How does an individual set a goal of hitting $70,000 this year new business? And how does an individual do all this and have time for anything else? You might think Dale doesn't have time to do anything else. Well, I think testimony to the fact he does have time is just a week ago last Monday, he and his wife gave birth to Darian James, a brand new baby. It's a great opportunity for us, and it's a great pleasure for me to introduce to you this morning Dale Lockwood. Dale?
Thank you, Bill. Bill asked a number of questions just now, all of which were, how does he do it? I tend to think the more important point here is why? Why did I do it? When I walked out of the hotel this morning, and this cold Texas air, unlike Florida that I'm accustomed to, hit me in the face, it reminded me of last January. We had started the year off in a canvas in an area just south of our Tampa area, Bradenton. It was sweater weather, it was cold. It was about 7:30 in the morning, and I had my phone books under my arm and my briefcase in my hand and my charge-out box here, and I was balancing a basket of fruit on my head, and I was getting into my car. And that was at 7:30. And one of the other hotel rooms there, an individual walked out and said to me, "Hey, Lockwood, saw that thing on your dashboard there. I had made a white card and with a magic marker put $50,000. Do it." And I sat it on my dashboard. He says, "I saw that thing in your car last night when came crawling in. And what is that?" I set my briefcase down and I looked him straight in the eye and I said, "That's what I'm going to do this year." What are you going to do this year? As a matter of fact, what are you going to do today? Many evenings, as I come into the office with my necktie on sideways and my hair standing on end and my shoes all scuffed up, I have people say to me, "Well, what'd you do today?" And with $600 or $700 in the sales net bag, I'll just answer, $600 or $700. "God, you're lucky. What a lucky guy." I make my luck. And that's the thing about luck. There's two kinds. There's good luck and there's bad luck. Address the bad luck, you're bound to have some. Believe that the only luck you can have is good, and you will. I'm a big believer in belief. When I sat in your chair last year, I believed that by the end of this year, I would become a DSM. 2 weeks ago, I did. I believed that 150% was a minimum that I could stand for from myself. When we look at what it is that we're doing here, and you're going through your exercises, and you've had a hole drilled in the top of your head and a funnel screwed in, and they're pouring in all kinds of different things for all of you. You're looking at pasting up ads, this, that, and the other thing. Crack open any phone book in front of you right now, and you'll realize that, yeah, there's display here, and there's display there. Don't lose sight of the fact that there is a lot more other stuff than display ads. This is a game of percentages. The percentages are such that on a daily basis, 25% of the people may decrease or cancel. 25% of them want to. You'll save them. You'll break even. 50% of those people are potential money for your pockets. This is a game of inches. I probably sell fewer half pages than anybody in Florida. I probably have one of the highest decrease rates or cancellation rates of everybody, anywhere in this company, because I've learned not to be afraid of something, and it's that if a customer says to you, I've got a 6U in this book, and I've got a 6U in that book, I'm not getting anything from there. Who knows better than he? I can't refute that. It's the truth. He hasn't gotten any business. He's not making money off his advertising. I may not have an answer why. So, all right, I accept your analysis, providing it's a sound one, providing you've really measured it. You don't belong in that book. That is not a market for you. Consequently, a cancellation or a decrease. We'll leave something in there for reference purposes. Now, all your eggs are in one basket, Mr. or Ms. Businessman. If you fall short of meeting what you need to get from that market, I won't have to be back next year. You won't be here. So you go to the 6U in that book, and you say, look at your competition. Look at the visual. Understand the market facts. Understand the dynamics, the changes that are taking place within your market. And you'll see that everybody that's in that book, in your classification, is in there right now for one reason, to make sure you don't get the call. And the only time people look in the yellow pages or in the telephone directory is when they've got a telephone in one hand, money in the other, and they're going to spend it with somebody. The question is it going to be you? How do you view your business in the only market that's left for you because you've just removed yourself? Where do you need to be? You'll end up making money on the account overall. You'll end up with plus sales net dollars. You'll end up with a decrease or a cancel. Don't be afraid of it. It's part of the game. It's a game of percentages. It's a game of inches. Understanding that leads to probably the one thing that will make or break any of you. There's percentages that have to be faced in this room.
Dale, this is fantastic stuff. I've got a break in a second.
Okay.
Kind of a bad image. Would you excuse me? Because we are getting a bad image. We're going to have to open these up, and perhaps we'll have a better image. Would you accept my apologies? When we're doing technical things like that, sometimes we've got to take a pause for it. Okay? Dale, I apologize, but we're ready to roll now again.
Okay. Just another day in the ad game.
What we'll do for you, too, is there's a lot of good ideas Dale is discussing. You may want to grab some of them with the point of a pen. Another thing you may want to do is he will be free for questions after his presentation. So if you have any ones, no matter how dumb you think they might be, feel free to fire them at him when he's finished with his presentation. Okay, Dale, again, my apologies.
Okay.
Watch the behind the
Okay. All right. Picking up where we left off, the one thing that will make or break any of you is attitude. You hear about attitude. The trainers talk to you about attitude. Your DSMs will talk to you about attitude. Attitude, in this instance, is how you view yourself, number one, where you picture yourself going, what you picture yourself doing, what you do when you have a good day, and how you let the rain roll off your back when you have a bad day. How you view your successes and your failures, because they're all built within this percentage game, is going to govern how you ultimately end up here. The days. Yesterday I got on the airplane to come here. You're all familiar with DSRs? My bottom corner, $700 in the hole. Just another day in the ad game. A couple weeks ago, one of our telephone reps in Florida, early in the morning, took $1,900 out of the telephone book in losses. $1,900. By 5 o'clock, she had put $2,200 back in on the phone. Why? Because it's how she viewed her failure. It wasn't a failure. It was a boot to make it move quicker, to get it done. Earlier this spring, during our Tampa canvas, it was about 5 o'clock, 8 to 5. We get paid to do whatever we do. 8 to 5 are standard business hours that people are accustomed to. Don't believe it. You'll be making calls early in the morning before the sun comes up, and you'll be out late at night. In Tampa, I was on my way back to the office to fill out my daily. I was pooped. I had about 13 or 14 closes in, premise, which was required in that particular canvas. I had probably $300, $400 sales net. As I was driving down one street, I noticed that there was an account that I knew I had the application on with me. So I went in there. 10:30 that night, I walked out of there. My sales net for the day was $3,800. I made one more call. If your attitude is such, if your beliefs are such that you can't be stopped, when you've finished your day, you do one more thing. The profits are immeasurable. You encounter philosophies from management, from the training class here, from people who are saying, if you do this, you'll get that. I've done it. You can believe me. It's for real. They're telling you the truth. It can work. Where's the customer fit in? Obviously, without the customer, where would we be? Obviously, the customer has a very high degree of importance. Suppose, for example, you were a businessman. You're a self-employed business person, and I walk in on you, and I sit down and interrupt whatever it was you're doing, because the only money that goes into your cash register is the money that you drum up somehow during your business day. And I decide to talk to you about how bad the traffic is outside, or why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can't win a football game, or any number of things that don't relate to his business. Whether you're on the telephone or whether you're in person, you have no right to take that businessman's time if you are ill-prepared and ill-planned. You have no right to cross his threshold. You're doing that man an injustice. You do him an injustice, you'll pay. You do him right, you'll win. And when you win and he wins, what more could anybody want? Everybody's happy. Win-win situations are the things that we're looking for from this job, from our own individual performance. The customer requires respect. He is the master of his destiny. Each of you have choices to make as far as your goals, as far as your objectives, as far as your attitudes. There's two kinds of people, and you're sitting here right now. One is the type of person who gets up in the morning, steps out onto the earth, and the earth spins and they move with it. Those people become victims of fate. They go with it. What happens, happens. Let the chips fall where they may. And then there's those people who settle for nothing less than becoming masters of their own destiny. How do you do that? You do it through setting realistic goals. How many times have we heard that? Everybody's heard it. What's a realistic goal? I'll be honest with you. You can have an idea in your mind right now what you'd like to do, but it'll be a couple of months before you have any idea what you really might be able to do. When you reach that point, the goal that you establish must be your own. It's got to be yours. A DSM cannot say, you will do 175% this year. You can't live up to someone else's expectations and feel good about it. But what if you meet or exceed your own? How much better can you feel about anything? You hear about setting the realistic goal. Let's just take a hypothetical situation here. You live in New York City. You want to go to Los Angeles. Los Angeles is the goal. You've identified it and you've defined it clearly. Now, how long is it going to take you to get there? Let's say 10 days. All right. Let's say 150% is your objective. How long is it going to take you there? You want to finish it year to date? It's 1 year. Piece the analogy together here with me. Before you can complete your first day, you've got to make sure there's gas in the car. You've got to make sure you're packed. You've got to make sure you've got your keys. How can you achieve an objective of $200, $300, $400, $500 a day without a plan? Every day that you're in the field, on the phone, it doesn't matter. Going back to $50,000. That's what I'm going to do this year. What are you going to do today? I know every day what I'm going to do. I set a standard for myself. The company sets a standard for you. It's 100% the budget. You meet that objective, you've done what they asked of you as break-even point. Anything above and beyond that results in wins for everybody. How you going to do it? You go through your charge out and you say, who can help me attain what I need to do today? You're on a $100 a day budget. You've got a $200 a day objective for yourself to achieve 200%. How can I logically generate $200 in sales net today, assuming I'm going to lose a little bit along the way? You got to think that low. You've got to begin at that point before you can hit the big home run. You've got to. You've got to. It's got to be done on a daily basis. You've got to know a minimum of 1 day in advance what you're going to be doing. I see people around me, oh my God, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, I haven't got a close yet, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Why don't you get in your car and go get one? Telling me that you haven't got one isn't going to get you one. I'm not going to buy anything from you. I promise. So they get in their car and they do it. Probably the greatest day inside that I felt was during a canvas earlier this year. Someone came up to me and said, oh, I'm so confused. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's 12 o'clock. I don't have any closes. I don't know which way to turn. I'm not going to buy anything. I promise. I won't buy anything. So why don't you take your charge-out box? Why don't you take your grid map? Why don't you go out there and get in front of a customer? And don't tell them that you don't have a close. You go out there and you help that person put together a future for their business during the next 12 or 18 months through our directory. 5 o'clock that afternoon, that individual came walking in the office with about $500 or $600 under their arm and said thanks to me. That probably was the high point of this entire year for me, because I helped somebody achieve something, just like I help my customers achieve what they want. Now, we know about the customer and where he fits in. And, oh, that just reminds me of something. Who is, excuse me for just a second, who is Rick Aquaviva? Rick, pardon me for interrupting here. I've got to see you right after we're done here at the break. There's a problem that I need to talk to you about. Okay? How'd you feel when I said that? Like, what'd I do? What did I do? How did you all feel when all of a sudden somebody was just singled out and was told that there is a problem? There is no problem. Thank you for your cooperation with that. Words like problem, cost, price, advertising, salesman, person, woman, it doesn't matter. Those are what are known as charged words. Dad says to you, got a little problem we need to talk to you about, son. Your knees feel like hot butter. The boss says to you, be in my office at 5 o'clock on Friday. There's a problem we need to discuss. It makes you feel awful inside. And when you talk about price, and you talk about money, and you talk about cost, and you talk about advertising, it alienates people. It alienates that customer. A customer in a lot of instances is operating on a shoestring budget. And what we're asking that person to do is not spend money with us. We're asking that person to create an investment into the future of their business. This is one of the most important things that you all might want to keep in mind. When somebody says to you, how much? And you say, the price is, all he's thinking is dollars. That could be making a car payment or doing any number of other things. But if you indicate that the difference is, it softens it. If somebody says to you, how much is the red? 50%? Holy cow. But if you let them know that, well, let's see, how do we do things? You just play with them a little bit. If you've got a quarter column, a 2U, and it's $10, and you've got a 4U, which is 2 quarter columns, or 2 2Us, how much is it? Why, of course, it's double the price. You got twice as much, it costs twice as much. So you asked about the red. Well, let's see, we put black ink down on a $100 ad, and then we lay down red ink on top of it. That's twice as much ink, isn't it? How much is it? $200? Too much? Oh, what if I can give it to you for half that? It's only half again as much. Not 50% more, just half again as much. It's a good deal. It's the best deal in the phone book. canvas that we're in right now, I've sold about 115 red ads in by using that. Doesn't cost that much, just a little bit different. The charged words, the cost, the price. Start getting them out of your vocabulary now. Hi, this is your advertising salesman from General Telephone Yellow Pages, calling you up, getting ready to pick your pocket again this year. They're scared to death. Hi, I'm Dale Lockwood with General Telephone Directories Company. We're redoing your directory. I need to get together with you to re-verify your information, to make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and that you are represented correctly in the directory. Not to handle your advertising. Handling advertising costs people money. Making sure their representation in the directory is something that they all want to make sure is correct. Nobody wants to spend the money. Investment. What we're asking you to invest here is X number of dollars. Why do I call it an investment? This building that you're in, unless I'm drastically mistaken, you're probably leasing it or renting it. That's a fixed cost. The telephone that the phone company is charging you a business service on is a fixed cost. Running your fleet of vehicles is a fixed cost. Those things you got to live with as long as you're going to be in business. All of those are going money out the window every month just to be here. What makes this different than any other commitment to cost or investment is that this is an investment because it's the only piece of outbound capital on a monthly basis you're committing to that's designed to pay you a net return. If you put money into something and you get more money back, it's an investment. Right? Right. So they're making an investment when they sit down with their business consultant, their Yellow Page rep, who is well-armed, well-schooled with the market facts, the person that they can learn to become highly dependent upon to make sure they have the most complete and comprehensive information available to them on an annual basis regarding their market changes. You can become a trusted and welcome entity in the marketplace if that's how you see yourself. How you see yourself. When you sit there and you look at me, yeah, I've done what I've done. I've done it because I wanted to. I've done it because I needed to. For me, because that's my goal. I never had a manager tell me, you got to, because then I'd be living up to that person's expectation. My expectation of myself was to do it. So I did. Selling this product is easy. Getting them to buy it is the hard part. And you got to do it by nickels and dimes. Bold types, HS ads, display ads, multiple display ads. It's not a game of half pages. The home runs don't go over the wall that often. If you count on those, you'll become a victim of that fate, not a master of designing your own destiny. It's a game of inches. So is achieving your objectives for yourself and your goals. You've got to do it a day at a time. You've got to do it a call at a time. And with this, we'll talk about something here right now that I want you to think about backwards. Everybody know about preparation and planning? Let's call it planning and preparation from this point forward. How can you put together an ad for me that's going to make sense to me, because if you make sense, you'll make dollars? How can you put together a half-page ad spec'd up for me when I'm the only display ad in that classification in the directory and you didn't know it because you didn't look in it? You didn't plan. You prepped an ad, but you didn't plan. I won't buy it. Ain't no way. My ego's not that big that I need a half page where there's nobody else. You've got to plan. You've got to look in the directory. You've got to do a statistical evaluation, a tactical evaluation, and make a recommendation to that customer based on sense. If that customer is a one-person operation, lawn maintenance company, let's say, and there are people in there that are running 50 trucks with 50 crews. They've got the half page, this guy doesn't. Why does he really need the half page? What he may just need is a better position to make sure that his ads get in there. Say he's in a 4-column book. A 6U will fall somewhere against the outside edge of the page. A 12U will always occupy a corner spot, be it high or low. You all know you can't commit to exactly where. And a half page will always run across the page. That's the way it works. So you sell them a business insurance policy. You sell them on the idea of your 2U, your 4U, could end up as filler on the inside section of the book this year, like they use the little ads because we go by paging on a seniority basis and a size basis. Why not just make sure your ad is positioned so it'll be seen? All of a sudden, the quarter column has become a 6U. You sell them a business insurance policy. It's the only place anybody's going to look to be able to find a business like yours. Everybody that's in there is in there to make sure you don't get the call. Why not get your piece of the pie? Make sense? Yeah, if it does, it makes dollars. And then you make money, and the company makes money, and then you get to come up here and do this next year. This is the start of a new world for all of you. Your world has changed. Your life has changed. Your commitment to yourselves, to your family, to the activities you knew are going to change. They're going to change based on what you need to do inside yourself, how you see yourself, whether you want to pick someone in your unit to become your nemesis that you compete against on a pay period by pay period basis, which I highly recommend. It's a very healthy thing to do. And build it one step above that on a daily basis with your nemesis, whose objective it is to write